Hello and welcome back to another War of Rights video. Today we're going to discuss in depth the upcoming release for artillery in War of Rights. We'll discuss the differences with real-life artillery, the game mechanics on release, and what I think will be useful strategies for artillery when it becomes available. Keep in mind that everything is subject to change. This is an alpha phase. Let's get into it. According to the developers, upon the initial release of artillery, only 3-inch ordnance guns will be operable, and all cannons on the field will be replaced by 3-inch guns. Thus, we'll focus on 3-inch guns during this video. First, let's talk about ammunition. Campfire Games research has yielded that 3-inch rifled guns rarely used solid shot, and thus solid shot would not be available upon release. This is because solid shot, in the bolt form that was used for rifled guns, tumbled like a football down the field, and thus was not effective like the solid bouncing spherical shot used in smoothbore cannons. Bouncing artillery rounds from smoothbore cannons, which were round, were much more effective, and thus solid shot was generally used with smoothbore cannons, while shells, which explode, were used with rifled cannon. Note that smoothbore cannons are classified by their smooth barrel, while rifled cannons act like scaled-up rifles, firing a bullet-shaped projectile that is spun in the barrel for increased accuracy and range. There will be 3 types of ammunition available for use on the 3-inch ordnance guns. The first type is shell shot. Shell shot is made up of a hollow, powder-filled projectile with thick metal walls. This yields, as will be the case in-game, a quote, larger initial blast explosion radius, killing anyone inside of it, due to its bigger internal blast charge, end quote, along with a larger shrapnel radius that will be quote, less deadly because of the fewer pieces of shrapnel that it produces, end quote. I imagine this type of shot will be useful for larger spread out groups due to its larger blast radius, suppressing the group as well as killing some enemy infantry. However, shell shot will undoubtedly do well under all circumstances. The second type of ammunition that will be available upon release is case shot. Case shot, developed by British General Henry Shrapnel, is a hollow shell with powder and 40 to 80 musket balls that explode in all directions. In order to house the musket balls, the walls of the shell were thinner, and the shell had a smaller internal charge. This yields, as will be the case in-game, quote, a smaller initial blast explosion radius due to its smaller internal blast charge, end quote, along with a smaller shrapnel radius that is, quote, deadlier due to the amount of shrapnel it produces, end quote. I imagine that this type of ammunition will be best for tighter groups of infantry, where the greater amount of shrapnel can tear holes in the enemy line. The third and final type of ammunition that will be available upon the initial release of artillery is canister shot. Canister shot is made up of a tin can packed with 27 iron balls in sawdust. Sometimes canister shot was made up of any shrapnel the artillerymen could get their hands on. This yields a shotgun type effect on oncoming troops, which, although ineffective at longer ranges, would yield devastating fire within 50 to 300 yards. At close ranges, this shot will devastate enemy lines, and will be used to defend the capture point on many maps, where the artillery is at extremely close range to the capture point. All available ammunition will be packed in a limber cart, which is the box that the cannon is attached to in order to be drawn by horse. Upon release, the limber will be the only storage for ammunition, and only one side of the limber chest will be available, with the other being covered by an immovable tool tray. This tool tray will be able to be moved in future releases, as was historically the case. The shots available will be as follows: 10 shell shots, 10 case shots, and 5 canister shots. Ahistorically, no ammunition will be available from the caissons, which will serve a different purpose that we will cover later on. Once this ammunition is expended, no further ammunition will be available for the duration of the game, and another cannon or limber chest must be used. Now let's talk about the aiming system upon release. Historically, cannons were aimed with one man controlling the left to right movement or traverse of the cannon using the trail spike at the back of the cannon, while the officer aimed the cannon, using the elevating screw to control elevation. In War of Rights, a similar system will be used, and the player can hold shift to move the cannon quicker in the desired direction. Historically, different cannons use different sighting mechanisms, allowing the gunner to adjust the desired angle and range using a distance table in the limber chest. While this functionality, the use of the distance table in the limber, is promised for future releases, these will not be available in the initial release. Instead, a simple aiming reticle located on the end of the barrel, like a rifle, will be used. Historically, exploding shells used a cut fuse that timed when the shell exploded downrange. A timed charge or fuse system will not be available upon the release of artillery, but ideas are floating on how Campfire will implement a system like this. Now, we will move to our final mechanics topic, which is spawn and capture mechanics. Instead of caissons being used for ammunition storage, Campfire has elected to use them as forward spawn points for artillery. Much like how the flag works for infantry in War of Rights, the caisson positions on each map will be available as a forward spawn point for artillery. However, caissons will not be movable, even if the movable cannons and limbers are pushed away. Thus, artillerymen will always spawn at either the caissons or the main spawn, and must then run to wherever their current cannon position is. In accordance with the caissons being a forward spawn point, they will be capturable by the enemy team. Both enemy infantry and enemy artillerymen will be able to capture the caissons, preventing forward spawning by the captured team. However, only artillerymen will be able to capture and use enemy artillery. Both friendly and enemy artillery will be usable only by the artillery class, as Campfire wants to prevent the development of, quote, a meta where 2/3 of the artillery crews are actually infantrymen, whom of course will be much better suited to defend against a surprise attack with their rifles and bayonets, compared to the low damage dealing ramrod of the artillery crews, end quote. Well, that is all the information I currently have on the upcoming artillery release in War of Rights. Check the description below for links to the developer releases on artillery, and the script for this video if you'd like to read it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.